I was the classic good girl. Yet somehow, I made the ultimate playboy settle down. On the eve of getting our marriage license, I stumbled upon him at his bachelor party. He was surrounded by women, laughing as he said, "I don't really want to marry her. She's just a good girl." Hung up on the idea of first time forever. I can't do anything about it. The tight string in my mind snapped. I had just been admitted into a confidential government post and feared that his background check would fail. I hadn't figured out how to break up with him. Chapter 1. Elias. A woman killer. Seductive and wild. That tiny beauty mark at the corner of his eye when it shifted with his smile. It could make your soul tremble. Even a stiff bookworm like me couldn't help but feel my hormones go haywire. And his voice, low, magnetic, husky, damp with allure. Every time I heard it, I had to write through 3 full sets of mock exams before the heat in my body faded. When we first dated, I was often stunned into a daze by him. He would press the tip of his tongue against his lower lip, let out a low chuckle, hopeless, and then his lips would claim mine until my knees went weak. Now, coming back from his bachelor party with his collar open and reeking of alcohol, his eyes still glossy with excitement, he yanked me into his arms. His hand slid down my back, but then stopped. "You've lost weight again?" I caught the shift in his gaze. It wasn't concern, but disdain for how bony I felt. Studying for exams, the stress was heavy. I murmured. Elias only gave a casual grunt, his eyes sweeping to my chest. "Did you wear the clothes I bought you?" Even now, I couldn't adapt to that kind of naked stare that could strip a person bare. I shook my head. No. His gaze pulled back. All interest drained away, leaving only coldness. "Fine, go to sleep. I've got something to do outside." The door shut. My clenched fists slowly loosened. Of course I didn't wear them on purpose. He'd long thought me dull and boring. At first, when he grew cold toward me, I tried hard to match his tastes, learned sexy dance routines, changed my style, but he still looked indifferent. It wasn't until I overheard him with his friends that I understood. "You know what she looks like when she dances? Like a school principal trying to grind, scarier than a teacher's pet. She's been following the rules her whole life." Totally boring, his friend asked. "Then why not just dump her?" He sighed lightly. "She gave me her first time." I'm not that kind of jerk. I can't bring myself to say it. My hand shook. The bag of food digging into my palm, the breakfast I had made with love went to waste. But hearing it again, I wasn't even that angry. I could calmly watch, almost with admiration, the way his lips were reddened from being kissed by other women. So beautiful, truly a demon on earth. But since he couldn't say it, I would. Chapter 2. The first half of my life could be summed up with 2 words, obedient and sensible. My parents said studying was the only future, so I went straight from master's to doctoral studies. They said dressing up was a waste of time, so my entire youth was spent in shirts and trousers. Someone once joked, "Good thing you're conservative. On your wedding night, when your husband unbuttons you, he'll find skin untouched by sunlight. Even your collarbones will be a fresh discovery, ha ha ha." I stayed silent. But soon, I couldn't study anymore. My grades plummeted. Professors sighed. I thought I was sick, weak, tired. Until one day I heard Elias's voice. A shiver ran up my spine. And that night I blazed through 10 papers and 2 journal drafts. Relieved of the tension, I smiled in my sleep. So this was mating season. Huh? With the persistence I once used to conquer calculus, I pursued Elias. I cleaned up his disciplinary messes, joined cultural activities for him, wrote reports, even drafted his party membership application. One day, I handed him the form. His friend glanced me up and down, sneering. "Who's this? Some kid with a child's body?" Elias's eyes barely flicked over me. "Looks like one of the counselors." Can't remember. I was only in my 2nd year of grad school, but he didn't remember me, and that didn't hurt. A man like him was always surrounded by beauties. At worst, the pretty girl next door type. I knew my place. I thought we'd always be parallel lines. Then he got into a fight, broke 3 of the other guy's ribs, ruptured his spleen. My first thought, damn, there goes his party application. My second thought, those tense biceps as he fought must have been so sexy. Did his shirt tear to reveal his abs? The thought alone made my belly warm. But when I saw him, my heart twisted. My eyes stung. Blood covered half his face. Fragile and broken. Worse than the wound on his forehead was the hidden injury. Elias had been caught cheating. The woman's boyfriend came after him with one goal: to destroy him where it hurt most. His manhood. One rupture. Recovery uncertain. When Elias woke and understood, he collapsed inside. He refused to see people. Flew into rages. Neglected himself. I stayed, taking care of him, enduring his temper. 15 days later, he looked at me and stated flatly, "You like me." It wasn't a question. From an evolutionary psychology perspective, liking is an adaptive behavior for survival and reproduction. Dopamine is desire. Phenylethylamine is impulse. Oxytocin is attachment. I craved him. Yes. He fell silent, lashes dropping, lips pressed into a pale line, handsome as a statue. My heart thundered, mouth dry. I wanted to grab a test paper just to burn off the heat. At length, his eyes tilted, the beauty mark at their corner glimmering. I might never recover. If you can accept a platonic relationship, we can be together. Strange condition, but maybe I was strange too. And just like that, I ended up with the ultimate playboy. Later, I learned it had been one of his tests. But I had lived untouched for over 20 years. With or without, what difference did it make? What I wanted was the blaze of desire to fuel my drive to study. Half a year later, he couldn't hold back. His body had healed. For a self-proclaimed playboy, 6 months of abstinence was the limit. It happened just as I was buried in doctoral qualifying exams. Stressed. Breaking out with pimples. I wondered how he could even stand to kiss me. But Elias kissed deeper and harder. Lips grinding with a ruthless hunger, refusing to part. The power of experience. My body melted into mush. I shoved at him, but he only pulled back half an inch, lips still brushing mine. "You don't want to put out the fire anymore?" He breathed. That only fanned the flames, but after one whole night, I understood. The sluggishness melted away, my body light as if I'd float into clouds. After that, the pimples disappeared. My mind sharpened. Elias wasn't just devastatingly handsome, he was a miracle healer. My oxytocin levels were off the charts. But then, another icy blow. Flat. No feel at all. How can you look so ugly from this angle? Why are you still keeping clothes from the last century? Even my grandma wouldn't wear them. This isn't right. That isn't right. Are you some kind of zombie from the Qing dynasty? Words blurted out without thought are the truest. Deep down, Elias despised me. Would he despise me, too, when it came to my thesis, my research, my experiments? I could only pray for a little more time. Chapter 3. It really was slow, 3 whole years. Elias often disappeared for stretches of time. Whenever he came back, I always thought he'd finally break up with me. But this time, he proposed. Though, not without an accident. My friends had organized a celebration banquet for my PhD graduation. Somehow, something went wrong, and it turned into a proposal party. The moment Elias appeared, the hotel staff quickly handed him a ring. The lights dimmed. Streamers flew around us. The crowd chanted, "Marry him! Marry him!" Absolute chaos. Couldn't they see Elias hadn't even lifted his hand? And me, I clearly saw the waiter's forehead, dotted with beads of sweat as big as soybeans. The next second, someone shouted, "Helen is a traditional good girl. You've been dating her for 3 years without marrying her. Are you even a man?" Elias's face darkened. I wanted to end the farce, but Elias picked up the ring, dropped to one knee. "Marry me." I knew very well, this man would never compromise just because someone insulted him, not even with a knife at his throat. So in that moment, I wondered if Elias really did want to marry me. I was shocked, even a little stirred. Had I actually conquered a man that society considered the ultimate high-level playboy? There's a saying, in success, don't lose yourself. In failure, don't lose heart. But I'd only read academic papers, not proverbs. I was about to learn the hard way. Fortunately, ambition must always aim high. Even if love was gone, I still had my career. So when I learned Elias's true thoughts, I immediately accepted my advisor's recommendation. A position at a confidential government unit. Passed the interview. Report date in 1 month. Elias still had that criminal record from the fight years ago. If we got married, he would never pass political review. I hadn't figured out how to bring up the breakup. Now, it was easier than ever. Chapter 4. After the bachelor night, Elias disappeared again. He was avoiding me. What he was avoiding was obvious. The next time I saw him was pure coincidence. At the swimming pool, he was teaching a stunning beauty how to swim. Just one glance, and I knew something was off. Elias was a master of seduction. Casual physical contact between men and women came to him as naturally as drinking water. But this time, when he pulled the woman out of the pool, his eyes landed straight on her shoulder and then stopped, steady, controlled, without wandering, back when I put on a swimsuit. His first glance swept me up and down. His pupils flashed with light, his careless smirk tugging at his lips. Empty cup. Next time, by a size smaller. Even stranger, when the beauty handed him a juice. Her fingertips only touched the rim, her knuckles tense and rigid, careful, reserved. It was the first time I'd ever seen Elias so innocent. His friends once said, "There's no woman alive who could ever make Elias blush. If one ever does, he'll be finished." People say openness is friendship, but caution is love. I thought that rule would never apply to a man like Elias. Yet he only raised a brow, smiled, and accepted it. I watched the two of them, a pair fit for a magazine cover, and then quietly looked away. I took out my phone, typed a message, "Come back tonight. I need to talk." When my friend's class ended, we left together. The beauty got into Elias's car. In the passenger seat, I glanced at my phone. No reply. I wondered if my message would interrupt his plans. I pressed the text, ready to withdraw it, then remembered it had been sent 2 hours ago, not 2 minutes. Foolish of me. After dinner with my friend, I went home. Sure enough, the place was empty. I poured myself a glass of water and sat on the sofa. This was his favorite spot, facing the window. As he liked to say, stimulating. The clock on the wall ticked to midnight. The door lock clicked. Elias walked in, full of energy, neat clothes, hair in place, no trace of satisfaction from a night after sex. When he saw me sitting there, his steps faltered. Then he leaned against me, collapsing bonelessly into my body, his voice lazy. "Not really in the mood tonight. Maybe next time. You should put on some weight. You're too bony." 3 years of communication. Was it really only about that? Thinking carefully, it seemed true. From aesthetics, habits, hobbies, to how we saw the world, we had nothing in common. Our life scripts had never once shared the same backdrop. I stayed silent. He clicked his tongue softly, then leaned over, pressing down on me, his peach blossom eyes closed, lips brushing perfunctorily at my neck. I didn't stop him, but I didn't respond either. When he felt me lying there like a dead fish, he grew irritable, pushed away. "Why are you so hard to please?" When Elias was gentle, his gaze was molten honey, charming beyond measure. But when his face darkened, his brows sharp, his eyes were ice picks, I thought I could accept all of him. But in that moment, he seemed almost ugly. I said evenly, "About the marriage license." I felt his back stiffen, his breath grow heavier. He was nervous. "Let's not get it yet. We break up." He cut me off. "Fine, whatever you want. I'm exhausted today. I'll wash up and sleep." His reply was rushed. His retreat carried the relief of someone thinking, "Finally, it's over." He didn't even notice the box in my hand. My gaze lingered. After hesitating, I typed out a message. "Elias, let's break up. Thank you for these 3 years together. The apartment lease ends this month. Remember to move out early. May flowers bloom on your path. And may you meet someone truly right for you." He would probably be happy to see it. After all, he wouldn't have to carry the guilt of being the jerk who dumped a traditional girl. I stared at the words "someone truly right." My eyes burned before I looked away. For more than 20 years, I had lived by the rules, the wildest, most reckless days of my life were the ones Elias gave me. My first bikini, my first time skipping class to travel, my first New Year's Eve kiss in the crowd. Every second had been like bouncing on springs, joy exploding in my veins, but calm always gave way to endless emptiness. To love propped up by sheer force. I opened the box. Inside was the plastic ring the hotel had prepared for his proposal. Fake at a glance, yet under the waiter's surprise. I'd paid 50 yuan to keep it. Clunk. It hit the trash can. The cheap diamond reflected eerie light. My lips curled in distaste. But beneath it, there was relief. At last. It was over. Chapter 5. That night, I stayed at a friend's place. The next morning, Elias called me early. Where are you? At Olivia's house. He stressed each word. When are you coming back? Still half asleep. I blinked. What did he mean by that? I squinted at the chat window. No reply from him. Had he not seen it? Or was he pretending not to know? But Elias had always been blurry with boundaries between men and women right after breaking up. Maybe he just wasn't used to it yet. I brushed him off. In a while, I still have things to pick up. Beep, beep, beep. Elias hung up on me. They say the better looking someone is, the worse their temper, because beauty makes others chase after them when you don't. Elias was the perfect example. I rolled my eyes. Let's call it karma for being a womanizer. A few days later, I suddenly got an invitation to Santiago's birthday party, Elias's friend. I checked the date. It matched exactly the same day as my relationship anniversary with Elias. He had never celebrated it, but I always prepared 2 gifts. Santiago was a good guy. Without Elias in the middle, I could have been friends with him. That day, I arrived before Elias. His friends looked confused that we hadn't come together, but no one asked. Soon, Santiago waved. Elias, over here. The moment he said it, the room went silent. I turned and saw a striking scene, handsome man and beautiful woman, arm in arm. It was the beauty from the swimming pool. Never thought my first encounter with Elias after breaking up would be like this. His playboy nature really was unshakable. Good thing we split, otherwise that green hat on my head would have been impossible to bear. But apparently, his friends still didn't know. The atmosphere froze. The beauty was sharp. Her gaze locked on me. She curved her lips in a polite smile. Elias, aren't you going to introduce us? Poised, graceful. Elias stayed silent. The beauty's smile stiffened slightly. I stepped in. Just friends. We went to the same university. After all, no girlfriend wants to stand face to face with her boyfriend's ex. I was still too decent, but Elias's face turned sour. I thought he disliked my answer. So I added, not very close. Just acquaintances. Don't misunderstand, miss. Elias laughed, but it was the kind of laugh squeezed out between clenched teeth. I noticed he was angry. In the past, whenever I saw that furious, handsome face, I would kiss and coax him, whisper apologies while running my hands over his abs. Bitterness mixed with sweetness, and in the end, lust always won over grievance. But this beauty didn't need such cheap tricks. She nudged Elias's arm, pouting with mock reproach. Don't be like that. It sounds awful. A beauty's coquettish scolding, both reproach and charm, was a delight to the eyes. For once, Elias, who never spared me any face, bent his eyes into a smile. All right, as you say. I froze. Shuffling my feet, I instinctively stepped aside to give them space. I had no intention of staying for dinner, but Santiago insisted. At the table, they sat together. I chose the farthest seat from them. When I sat, Elias shot me a cold glance, his intention unclear. During dinner, the beauty stayed demure. Elias, the so-called playboy, turned into a warm gentleman, serving her with care. She suddenly said, Elias, why don't you pour some water for the other girl too? Peel some shrimp for her? Girls' hands are delicate. There were only 2 women present, her and me. I stared at my own fingernails, trimmed down to the quick. No need. I can peel them myself. The beauty's smile collapsed on the spot. Elias gave me a displeased glare, then quickly soothed her. She's just a bookworm, doesn't know how to talk. Don't mind her. Another insult. I was always clear about benefits. In the past, blinded by his looks, I endured. But now, why should I? I set down my chopsticks. If bookworms don't know how to talk, then where would you place someone like Lu Sun? Oh, right, you probably never read him. Elias's face darkened instantly. He never expected that the woman obsessed with him would talk back. The beauty lightly tapped his arm. Elias, you shouldn't call a girl a bookworm. I smiled. He's not wrong. I really am a bookworm. Elias's eyes clouded, as if covered in ash. Luna, do you think someone like that deserves your defense? A block of wood, rigid and inflexible, zero emotional intelligence, not a shred of charm. Just dealing with her makes you sick. Sick. That word. Elias knew exactly where to stab me. Chapter 6. I was the child of 2 working teachers. One taught math, the other literature. I never had a childhood, only studying. In middle school, I once cut out a picture of a celebrity and secretly sewed it onto the inside of my shirt. A shirtless, muscular photo. When my mother discovered it, my teeth chattered, clacking against each other. She didn't hit me, she didn't scold me. Just one look, sweeping over me as if I were filth under her shoe. One word, disgusting, and I was thrown into the mud. In high school, stress exploded into acne across my face. Other classmates bloomed with budding hearts in the bitterness of study. I could only bury my head on the desk. One day, a letter slipped inside. I opened it with trembling hands. The words screamed at me, disgusting toad and heat. The entire class burst into laughter. Later, when I started dating Elias, I spent a fortune on ugly clothes, trying to dress up. The moment I put them on, he closed his eyes, tilted his head, and muttered softly, "Too disgusting." That time, I broke down, cried so hard it startled him. The man who was always calm and aloof suddenly panicked, hugging me, wiping my tears, repeating "I'm sorry" again and again, saying he hadn't looked carefully. I told him the reason. For a moment, I caught a flicker of pity in his eyes. My heart skipped a beat. Maybe that tiny moment of tenderness was what made me endure 3 years. But rotten fruit is still rotten fruit. Even the sweetest bite is still rotten at the core. Chapter 7. Santiago noticed my face darken. He tried to smooth things over. Elias, that was too much. Helen is pure, studious, with a gentle temper and a sincere heart. She's not as bad as you make her sound. No one can withstand kindness. The moment he finished, my tears fell. Elias's pupils trembled. I wiped my eyes and said to Santiago, I lost my composure. Happy birthday. I need to go. Maybe I was acting too unlike myself. Santiago chased after me, along with a few others. They tried to console me all at once. That's just how Elias is. Don't take it to heart. He's too popular with women. But even with so many around, you've been the one by his side the longest. Be understanding. Give him more leeway. Their implication was clear. Without my tolerance, how could I have had Elias for 3 years? I was about to say, we've broken up. But Elias and Luna walked out. Luna's eyes sparkled as she said, So you're Elias's girlfriend. Looks like I was the one who overstepped. I hope I'm not hurting your relationship. But don't worry, we're impossible. We tried, almost felt something. Tried. So bold, so righteous, making me look like the mistress. I tugged at the corner of my lips. No problem, even if you 2 sleep together now. I wouldn't mind. Luna's pretty face went pale. Elias's brows twisted tight, fire burning in his eyes. Helen, what nonsense are you spouting? So he did understand which words were inappropriate. Elias quickly turned to Luna with an apologetic look. Sorry. She doesn't know how to control her mouth. I've wronged you. Luna's gaze turned soft, lips curving in a playful smile. To get the great Elias to apologize to me, I'm not wronged at all. Just introduce me to more handsome guys next time. Elias's anger soothed. His brows relaxed. Deal, but only if you bring your girlfriends too. Back and forth, teasing, like no one else existed. I turned and walked away, but before I made it far, Elias's angry voice shot out. Stop! Don't you have any manners? Throwing a tantrum without knowing your place? My steps faltered. Maybe even Elias himself didn't realize just how much he despised me, that he couldn't offer me even a shred of patience or respect. I quickened my pace, not looking back, until my wrist was yanked hard. Elias's breath was ragged, his teeth clenched tight. Helen, don't make me unhappy. A sudden thought struck me. His reaction, it wasn't like he knew we'd already broken up. I stopped, Faced him. Elias let go, shoved his hands into his pockets. His eyes tilted, gaze slanted at me, smug satisfaction gleaming in his pupils like victory. I asked, Elias, do you have 2 phones? His pupils flickered, like he'd been scalded. He flinched, then quickly calmed. Yes, for work. Problem? No wonder. Back when I slipped in the shower, I called and he never picked up. Never replied to messages. When I asked later, he brushed me off. Busy. Didn't check my phone. Turns out, he just didn't check the phone that had me in it. Back then, I didn't matter. Now, I still didn't. His gaze held steady. No hint of shame. As indifferent as ever. I smiled. Oh, no problem. Then let's break up. Elias froze. His eyes stiffened, then burst into sparks of rage. Because of 2 phones, you want to break up? Helen, are you insane? I replied calmly. I was insane before. Not anymore. Elias looked about to explode. Even his facial muscles twisted. Dumped by a plain-faced, rigid, utterly uninteresting woman with 0 charm. How could a playboy's pride survive that? But his arrogance was intact. After a pause, he curled his lips in a cold smile. Fine, just don't regret it. Elias walked away with swagger. Exactly as I'd imagined. A man with his looks would never suffer because of women. I stared at his tall back. The shirt stretched tight against his waist, outlining shallow dimples. His firm hips taut. His stride steady. The flex of his glutes powerful with each step. That was all a man was good for. Suddenly, I felt a little lustful. Emo. 1 second. Goodbye. Big ass. Chapter 8. On the 10th day after our breakup, Elias suddenly turned strange. 5 calls a day. 20 voice messages. Even when a cup dropped to the floor, should he wash it or throw it away, he had to ask me. He wasn't 18 anymore. My phone buzzed. A message popped up. A video. Abs in full display. Muscles taut. Water dripping down the ridges but refusing to fall. Scorching hot. 5 seconds later, the video was withdrawn. Then a voice message. Sorry. Sent it by mistake. His voice low and hoarse, laced with a deliberate stickiness. A toad pretending to be charming. I ignored it. 15 days left before I started at the new job. Olivia suggested a trip to relax. We chose a small island, mostly for the sea views. The second night, there was a beach dance party. Olivia and I had no talent to show off. We were purely spectators. We found good seats early, ordered juice, and watched. Olivia's eyes sparkled. We picked the right spot. So many handsome guys. I scanned the crowd, unimpressed. At the end of the party, the host announced a game. Balloon bumping, random participants. First prize, 3 nights at a luxury hotel. Suddenly, cheers erupted. I looked up and locked eyes with Elias on stage. What a coincidence. He was paired with a petite beauty in a seaweed bikini. She blushed, covering her mouth every time she looked at him. But Elias was unusually distant. During the whole game, he barely used any force. His gaze kept drifting toward me, wrapped in an air of detachment. He was so devastatingly seductive it hurt. The screams of women rose wave after wave. Their team lost. The punishment, drink or kiss. The mic moved to Elias. Sir, unfortunately you're last. What's your choice? Usually, couples kiss. Singles drink. But the crowd of bold girls already screamed for a kiss. When his eyes met mine, I quickly looked away. I choose the kiss. The host dragged out an "Oh, do you have a girlfriend?" No. Another wave of screams. Calm down. Ladies, the choice goes to this gentleman. Girls willing, raise your hands. Olivia, nearsighted, tugged my skirt. Hey, is that Elias? Your ex? He's about to kiss another girl. Aren't you worried? Raise your hand. I laughed softly. If he chose to kiss, why should I be anxious? Elias's gaze grew darker. His lips pressed into a line. Then he casually pointed at a slightly chubby, sweet-looking girl. She went up, closed her eyes. His lips pressed to hers, mouths tangled, tongues flashing red in the gaps between breaths. My chest tightened. It was sickening, so much I almost wanted to vomit. I knew Elias was promiscuous, but watching it live was different. When the party ended, Elias blocked me on the way back to my room. Olivia slipped away without a word. I kept my face blank. He stepped closer. Mad? Why bother? If you'd raised your hand, none of this would have happened. All right. It's over now. I won't make you jealous again. He leaned in to hug me. I dodged. Elias's face darkened instantly. Helen, do you really think you have the capital to act like this? You've been out here all this time. Has any man even hit on you? Don't overestimate yourself. My eyelids fluttered. I'd studied hard for more than 20 years. Mastered English. Mastered math. Savored literature. Earned a doctorate. Do I not know myself? Or maybe, I know myself too well. Giving doesn't mean groveling. Knowing why you give means you can decide how much to give. A mismatched relationship. Cut off at the right time. The freedom to choose whom to love, that's not something everyone has. I sneered. So what? Elias the Great? Is this your way of begging me to get back together? His brows twisted viciously. How could I? Like a cat with its tail stepped on, he jumped around, then sank into gloom. Helen, don't come begging me to return later. He left after spitting that out. I shrugged. Later? When was later? But soon enough. Later came. My mother took leave from work and came to see me, since she found out I was living with Elias. My parents and I were half estranged. She slapped me across the face. Everyone in town knows you had a boyfriend and were about to marry. What are you doing now? You chose this man yourself, even if he's shit. You'll swallow it. My cheek burned. That slap pushed me back into the mud, but I was no longer the child who couldn't climb out. My tongue pressed against my cheek. I got into the National Confidential Unit. He can't pass the political review. Do you want me to choose a man or a career? My mother went silent. At length, her severe face sharpened with cold light. Career matters. If it's over, let it be over. Your colleagues will all be respectable people. You can find another man later, and make sure to get your hymen repaired. I let out a cold laugh. In front of her, I nodded obediently. Behind her back, the next day, I booked an early flight to my post. How could a bird with full-grown wings die trapped in a cage? Elias sent a string of voice messages. How did it go with your mom? If you come back now, I won't hold it against you. Tonight, come over. I bought a new toy. Let's try it. The plant you liked is dying. Not my fault. It's just hard to care for. Too much water doesn't work. Too little doesn't work. Come back and fix it. Oh, and I bought a fish. Haven't had yours in a while. They say those with childhood trauma often seek familiar pain and love. One glance at his words. So much like my mother's self-righteousness. He thought I'd come crawling back. Grateful. But he didn't know my plane had already landed. A car picked me up, alone. Once I entered that unit, people like him had no more place in my life. His card, straight into the trash. Forever in his past. Chapter 9. After 6 months of work, I had changed a lot. My temperament grew calmer. I no longer clung to clothes that looked pretty. Many people said the plainer I dressed, the more I carried an air of cold elegance. Our unit assigned me on a business trip to the city where I had gone to university. I was paired with a senior colleague. Olivia came to pick me up at the airport. She complained that it had become too difficult to see me now, that I shouldn't have taken such a remote, closed-off job. I leaned in and whispered something to her. She gasped. Such amazing benefits. I'd love that, but I don't deserve it. Boo-hoo-hoo. Because the per diem allowance was quite high, the three of us went straight to a nice place to eat. Sometimes fate really does play tricks. Elias was there, wearing an earring, his hair slicked back in soft waves. Dressed in such trendy clothes they made you ache. Anyone who saw him would feel their heart skip. When he saw me, he froze, bewilderment flickered, then shock. He rushed over. But seeing the man beside me, he stopped short. Elias's eyes then, complicated. Anger, confusion, even a trace of sorrow. I looked away. After dinner, I parted ways with Olivia and went with my colleague to the hotel we had booked. After receiving our keys, as I walked down a dim corridor, someone suddenly covered my mouth and nose and dragged me into a cramped space. It's me, Elias's voice. Helen, You won. You've tortured me until life feels worse than death. I've kept myself celibate for half a year for you, and you turn around to date some guy old enough to be your dad? I corrected him. That's my colleague. He went silent. And he's only 5 years older than me. A sudden worry hit me. This job really was aging me fast. Elias's tense body relaxed. You once said your advisor wanted you to stay on campus. I asked. You never answered. Where are you now? That sudden concern. Wasn't it a little late? We were standing very close. He reached out, ran his fingers through my hair. You've gotten prettier. That line was sincere. In the 3 years we were together, he had almost never praised me. He never helped me with style or clothes. I had floundered, with no fashion sense, blindly copying the women around him. But clothes didn't transform me. I only looked awkward. I reminded him, we already broke up, Elias. His pupils shrank. That plant you liked, I saved it. Really easy. Just move it indoors during the day. Back out at night. Barely any watering needed. And I didn't know the rent was month to month. The landlord wanted me out, but I added $500 to keep it. And remember Tokyo? I always said I was busy. Well, next month the red maples. We already broke up. I cut him off. A rough sound rolled from his throat. I admit, during our relationship, my mind wandered, but I swear, I never cheated physically. My fingers trembled. Don't. We're done. His eyes drooped, like a dog beaten down by rain. Why? Once, that expression would have made my chest ache. Now, it only stung a little. Before settling into calm, I didn't give an answer. Feelings that had become the past didn't need to be dissected. The next day, I went with my colleague to the base. A car escorted us out of the city, buildings shrinking into nothingness, until no people remained. After a whole day on the road, I collapsed onto the dorm bed. Before I could shut my eyes, urgent knocking rattled the door. At the threshold stood special police. We caught a suspicious man 3 kilometers away. He says he's your friend. My stomach dropped. When I saw him, my heart plunged into ice. And Elias, crouched with his hands on his head, disheveled, still had a glint in his eyes, as if stars had been crushed inside them. Even in humiliation, he still had a trace of allure. Good thing I wasn't love blind anymore, or I really would have fallen for him again. After the police left, we spoke alone. Sorry, I didn't know your unit was so strict. This time, I asked the question, why? Elias's gaze steadied. Maybe, because of love. My fingers clenched tight, knuckles whitening. I slapped him, with all my strength. What's the point of saying that now? 3 years. Elias, not 3 months. Not 3 days. There were countless times, countless chances, and every time, your voice and eyes of disdain cut into me like knives. You call that love? Elias turned his head, unable to face me. I caught my breath. Elias, admit it. You were just used to me. For 3 years, I handled everything for you. In daily life, you hardly lifted a finger. If I hadn't, maybe even the electricity bill wouldn't have been paid. In your career, I pulled every resource I could. My classmates helped your company's accounts. For things I didn't know, I found experts. His eyes stripped me bare again. I know how to love. Do you? Do you even deserve that word? Elias bit his lips until they went pale, his jawline shaking. Looking at him like that, I suddenly wasn't sad anymore. I patted his shoulder, making him stand up. My expression softened. I smiled. The most important thing is, I don't love you anymore, Elias. His face went paper white, lips drained of all color. They trembled, as if words fought to break free, but he choked them back. For trespassing into the base, he wasn't locked up. I got a minor disciplinary mark, but it didn't affect my career. I could work there until old age if I wished, and the commendations I earned far outweighed the punishment. From time to time, I'd hear bits of news about Elias. Once, they said he shaved his head, looking rustic. 2 years later, he traveled across the country, searching for holy places. By the time I gave birth to my first child at 38, he'd broken up with his girlfriend of 5 years. When asked why, he said, Impure love has no result. Relationships are just like that. I'll stay single forever. To become a complete self is the lesson of a lifetime. He grew, and I was glad for him. I wished him well,